Viewers, the UN Secretary General, Mr. Antonio Guterres, has slammed Israel, saying that the attack on it did not take place in a vacuum. This is what he said. Listen in.
The UN Special Coordinator and I are engaging with leaders in the region to express our concern, our outrage, and to advance efforts to avoid any spillover to the wider Middle East. Even in these worst of times, and perhaps especially in the most trying moments, it is vital to look to the long-term horizon and avoid irreversible action that would embolden extremists and doom any prospects for lasting peace. This most recent violence does not come in a vacuum. The reality is that it grows out of a long-standing conflict with a 56-year-long occupation and no political end in sight.
Well, viewers, the root cause argument being put out there by Antonio Guterres, is he virtue signaling? That's the fundamental question we're asking, and we are joined by Sharren Haskel, Israeli Member of Parliament, this evening. Thank you very much for speaking to us here on the Hard Facts. Why is Israel calling for the resignation of the United Nations Secretary General, Ms. Haskel? What's the problem here with his statement specifically?
So I'm putting aside a lot of the facts that were completely incorrect. The United Nations body was created in order to make sure that massacre, genocide, something as horrible as the Holocaust in the Second World War will never happen again. I mean, the acts of the 7th of October, that was a crime against humanity. That was mass raping of young girls, murdering 40 babies, beheading infants and babies, torturing corpses and people in a manner that, it's very, very hard to find. I mean, this is the worst event that ever happened in Israel's history. And we have to go back to the Holocaust to maybe find an event that might be similar to something like that. Now, you cannot justify a genocide, you cannot justify a massacre in any kind of way. I mean, think if the head of the United Nations, after the attack in Mumbai, would come and say, well, it didn't happen in a vacuum. There's a long ongoing war between India and Pakistan, and both of the sides need to do such and such and such. I mean, can anyone justify the murder of any innocent civilians?
So why is he doing it?
This is the last thing that... Sorry?
Why is he doing it? Why do you think he's doing it? Why is he sort of, if you're accusing him of playing to the galleries, why is he playing to the galleries?
And unfortunately, for a very long time, the United Nations has lost its moral compass. And we've seen, countries who are chairing in the Human Rights Committee that are still have slavery in their own countries, that don't have rights for women, who sits in, that are heading the Women's Council. I mean, does that make any sense that the representative in that council, no matter if it's the Human Rights Council or the Women's Council, come from a country that doesn't respect those values? And so, we've been hit by this double standard and the lack of moral compass in the United Nations time after time. But unfortunately, that is some of a record that we've witnessed.
Okay.
You see the leaders of the free world, of democracies, of people who believe in those values that me and you believe in.
Right.
Freedom, democracy, liberty, freedom of religion, equal rights, women's rights, to have a body like that might justify a massacre?
Well, of course, the United Nations has sometimes also been very uncharitable to the Indian view. As we all know, viewers, there has been very little reciprocation on the acts of terror that are committed against India in the United Nations. We've seen that sort of virtue signaling, call it what you want to, playing to the galleries, equivocation, all of that. Thank you, Ms. Haskel, for speaking to me here on the Hard Facts. We leave it at that.